everybody, and welcome back to another video here on the 5-9 Gaming channel. My name is Sly, and today I'm here to give you all a catch-up video for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, as we plan to start doing reviews for the manga once a month. In the essence of time, for this video we will only be covering the first two major parts of this quest, with a quick recap in the first full review. Disclaimer, spoilers ahead of course. As always, if you are enjoying the content, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the content on the channel. Without further ado, let's get started. The series picks up where the initial series of Fairy Tail leaves off, with Natsu and his friends heading out for the 100 Years Quest. They reach the guild hall of the first ever magic guild, Magia Dragon. Here, they meet the guild master, Elefsaria, who appears to be a dragon. After introductions, Elefsaria explains the details of the quest to Natsu and his friends, the main point being to seal the 5 dragon gods of Giltina, each being as strong or stronger than Acnologia. Hearing this, Natsu gets fired up, as he likes to put it, which is his way of expressing his excitement. They all agree to the terms of the quest and sign the contract. Meanwhile, back at Fairy Tail, a new member joins the guild. Her name is Toka. And while Toka joins the guild, Jalal is actually asking around Magnolia's other guild if they have seen a certain wizard. Back on the quest with Natsu, the team arrives in Elmina. Later on that night, they wake up completely submerged underwater. However, due to a special potion they drank before going to sleep the night before, they are able to breathe and talk underwater. While exploring the city, Natsu, Lucy, and Happy stumble upon a woman locked in a cage. They soon learn of her true identity and purpose for being there. Her name is Kyria, and she is a 5th generation dragon slayer. Kyria explains that the 5th generation dragon slayers gain their power by eating dragons. Soon after, a massive water dragon appears and attacks them. However, Kyria reveals her powers and slays the dragon. After Kyria slays the dragon, she explains that she is part of a guild called Diabolos, a guild entirely filled with dragon eaters. When the commotion has all died down, the true water dragon god appears. With the personality Natsu has, he asks the god dragon if he is a good or bad person, and based on the answer received, Natsu would decide if he would slay him or find another way without resorting to violence. However, the water god dragon agrees that he must be sealed away. To further explain the situation, the water god dragon invites them to his palace. There, they meet his attendant Caramel. After introductions, we learn that the water god dragon's name is Mercphobia. He explains that he has no control over his magic as he used to. The humans that reside in the city are all originally humans that he placed magic upon in order to keep them safe. He then reveals that his true powers were stolen from him and that he must recover them before he dies, or if they are misused, calamities will occur. Meanwhile, Jalal is still searching around for Toka. However, he arrives at Mermaid Heel and learns from Kagura that Toka has joined Fairy Tail. Seeing Jalal's reaction to her answer, Kagura asks why he is so interested in this girl, to which he explains that she could be as dangerous as Zerov himself. Back in Elmina, Kyria's guild Diabolos shows up to challenge Mercphobia and Fairy Tail. Unfortunately, Fairy Tail loses the fight and Urza is enslaved by Kyria's magic, and Natsu and Wendy are taken hostage by Diabolos. Lucy embarks on a small boat to find where Diabolos went with Natsu, Wendy, and Urza. Along the way, she bumps into Brandish, a former member of the Spriggan 12. It is then that Brandish tells Lucy her reason for being on that continent. Aquarius' key is on Giltina and Brandish is on the look for it. After Brandish returns Grey to Lucy after saving his life, Lucy and Brandish settle on a competition to see who will find Aquarius' key first. Meanwhile in Magnolia, Jalal confronts Loxus and Toka about Toka's real identity. However, since Toka is a member of Fairy Tail, Loxus is protective of her. And since a fight between Loxus and Jalal would be annoying for both parties, they agree to not fight, but Jalal can stay in Magnolia to keep an eye on her, since he cannot let her out of his sight. During this confrontation, Urza is able to break free of her enslavement during the night. She soon finds Natsu and Wendy and releases them from their binds. But because they're on a boat and they are both dragon slayers, their stomachs don't agree with them. However, Brandish passes by and gigantifies a rock in the ocean, allowing the boat to come to a stop and allowing Natsu and Wendy to regain control of themselves and prepare for a fight. In order to defeat Kyria after having her sword broken, Urza shows off a new technique, Dragon Slaying Sword Belsarian. Meanwhile, on the top deck, Natsu defeats Madball. With Madball, Kyria, and Scullion unable to defeat Fairy Tail, they retreat. Back in Magnolia, Toka confronts Jalal. During this confrontation, Toka attacks Jalal. However, he is saved by Gajiel after he barges in when finding out where Toka was. After being secured by Gajiel, Toka reveals her true identity to them. while also revealing that she is the one who is in control of Mercphobia's power, and therefore Mercphobia himself. Upon returning to Elmina, Natsu and friends find that Mercphobia has gone on a rampage throughout the city, this time in his true form. Realizing they have no other choice but to fight, Natsu and friends charge in. During the fight, Mercphobia creates a massive storm. After managing to survive the attack and landing on Mercphobia's back, Natsu attempts to attack with his Crimson Lotus attack. With Natsu's attack having little to no effect, Mercphobia creates a vortex storm that pulls Natsu in. With no hope in sight for Natsu, a massive hand appears from the vortex, saving Natsu. Confused by the situation, the being the arm belongs to fully emerges. This happens to be a dragon. Seeing that Natsu isn't strong enough, the dragon decides to create a massive fire that burns throughout the city. Confused as to why the dragon is helping him, Natsu asks why the dragon decided to cause such a massive fire in the city. The dragon's answer was simple: he wants to fight Natsu when he's stronger. After revealing his intentions, the dragon reveals his true self, Ignia, who is the true son of Igniel. After having a talk with Natsu, he leaves, telling Natsu the only way to win is by eating his flames. Natsu refuses, but after thinking about the consequences and his friends telling him he has to, he ultimately gives in. This allows Natsu to get a massive power boost and tap into his Dragon Force state. However, this Dragon Force state of his is much more progressed than normal. Because Natsu has this massive power up, he's able to take Mercphobia head on. Being able to do this, he's able to throw Mercphobia to the ground. And with this new power also comes new fears. For the first time, Lucy was terrified of Natsu's flames. Needing the help from his friends in the fight like he always does, Natsu is able to finish the fight with his Demolition Fist technique. Celebrating that the fight is over, Natsu's friends congratulate him. However, Natsu doesn't believe his job is done. Due to the power coursing through him, Natsu's thinking is overtaken by how Ignia thinks. Burn everything to the ground until nothing but ash is left. However, before Natsu goes berserk and starts to burn everything to the ground, Lucy steps in and gives him a hug from behind, telling him that everything is over and that he can stop. After Natsu has calmed down and returned to normal, they return to the city, where they meet Mercphobia in his human form. Mercphobia tells him that their job is done and he plans to live in Elmina as a human with the townspeople. Meanwhile, Toka has enslaved all of Fairy Tail and is now in control of them. Mercphobia invites Fairy Tail to his palace to thank them for their bravery. Mercphobia was actually shocked to hear that Ignia appeared to help Natsu. Since Fairy Tail has met Ignia, Mercphobia explains the other three god dragons in hopes that they can complete their quest. After saying their goodbyes, Natsu and friends leave for the center of Giltina, Drasil. In the essence of time, however, on their way to Drasil, Natsu and friends make a stop in a town. There, they meet a guild named Fairy Nail. The guild is almost an exact replica of Fairy Tail, with the guild members being completely identical, in looks at least, to Fairy Tail. They meet in Urza, Natsu, Lucy, Juvia, and many others. Later that day, before Fairy Tail has to catch the train to Drasil, Gray bumps into Juvina, Fairy Nail's version of Juvia. She asks him to spend the day with her. As Juvina continues to explain hers and Glenn's relationship, Gray comes to a realization that he's treated Juvia the same in the past and feels extremely guilty about it. Talk about a reality check. Before Juvina leaves for work, she reminds Gray to not take too long to express his feelings for Juvia, because she won't wait around forever. Gray responds saying that he wants to be confident in himself and be the man she deserves. After everyone has boarded the train to leave, Gray wonders how Juvia is doing. To everyone's surprise, Juvia shows up on the train. Fairy Tail arrives in Drasil later that day and has a celebratory dinner together before they turn in for the night in order to start the next part of their quest. On their way to their rooms for the night, Gray asks Juvia how the guild was. This triggers Juvia's memory as she was affected by Toka's magic. However, it doesn't affect her how you'd think. Instead of attacking Gray and their friends, Juvia warns Gray about Toka's magic. Juvia faints and collapses in Gray's arms. As this happens, what seems like an earthquake occurs. During this earthquake, Lucy notices the town on the map and the shape of it. And the shape of the town and the surrounding area looks like a giant hand. Upon realizing this, Lucy tells her friends about the shape. Hearing this information, they realize that the hand shape isn't a coincidence and is in fact the actual hand of the wood god dragon Aldrin himself. The next day, Fairy Tail heads out to gather information to begin the next part of their quest. They receive a greeting from a passing stranger to give them a tour of the whole city. At the end of the tour, they arrive at Saint Right Hand Church. However, the church happens to be a trap for Fairy Tail set up by Toka. After demanding an explanation from Toka, Toka begins her attack on Natsu and friends by draining their magic power. However, Gray and Wendy arrive in time to save Natsu and his team. However, Toka doesn't waste any time and orders Loxus to destroy Gray's ice wall, which he does without any issues. Knowing they are outmatched at the current moment, Natsu and his friends retreat to come up with a plan. Meeting up in a remote part of the city, Juvia explains that Toka has two different personalities. The white mage who wants to turn everything white, and the normal Toka who has a genuine heart and an affection for Natsu. Juvia tells them that she was freed by the good-hearted Toka in order to protect Natsu and his friends. However, Juvia is unable to use her magic still. Juvia then explains Toka's new plan since Fairy Tail defeated Mercphobia, as she could not use his magic power anymore. She then tells them that Fairy Tail is only being kept alive due to the Water God Dragon's defeat. They come up with a plan that if they are able to beat their friends in battle and knock them out, Wendy might be able to heal them with her magic. And of course, being who he is, Natsu gets extremely excited to hear that he gets to fight his strongest friends. And before Urza or anyone else can tell him no, he's already taken off halfway down the road. Knowing they can't stop him, the rest of the group split off to the other 4 cities on Aldrin's body. In the essence of time, and as much as I would like to cover every detail of each individual fight, we would be here longer than necessary. The main fights that occur are Gray vs the Thunder Legion, Lucy vs Mira and her siblings, Natsu vs Gajiel, and Urza vs Loxus. There is one more fight with Wendy and a member of Diabolos, but we will cover that in a short while as it involves important character development for Wendy's character. After Lucy's battle, she meets up with Gray and Juvia, who are then greeted by Kana. There, she devises a plan to save everyone using Kana's magic. Back to Wendy's battle against a member of Diabolos. As Wendy reaches her destination to protect one of Aldrin's orbs, she runs into a member of Diabolos named Nabal. Seeing how outmatched she is, Wendy taps into her Dragon Force for more of a boost. However, Nebel reveals that he too can use a variation of the Dragon Force. After being severely outmatched even using her Dragon Force, Wendy is backed into a corner. Crying and hating herself for falsely believing that she had caught up to Natsu and Gajiel, she uses her last resort, tapping into the dormant power of Irene Belsarian. Seeing that Wendy is struggling and not using the power to the fullest, Irene awakens within Wendy. Taking over the situation and ending the fight quickly, Irene uses Wendy's body and uses her power. As much as I would like to show the full panel images, YouTube would hit this video with demonetization faster than you can blink, and we don't want that. After assuring Wendy that Nabal isn't dead, Irene teaches Wendy a new ability, a separation enchantment to split the white mage back into 2 people. Shortly after Irene teaches Wendy the power, she goes back to sleep inside of Wendy's mind. To quickly explain that, before Irene died, she enchanted her personality into Wendy. Her personality lies dormant inside of Wendy's mind until absolutely necessary, and neither of them can tell Urza. Once Irene went back to sleep, Wendy meets up with Natsu and Happy and they rush back to the city of the final orb. However, because of Mest's teleportation powers, he arrives before they do and the last orb is destroyed. However, instead of weakening Aldrin like Toka believed, Aldrin instead awakens with his true powers unsealed. Taking advantage of the situation with Toka being distracted by Aldrin's awakening, rather than demise, Wendy casts her new separation enchantment that Irene taught her. Realizing the magnitude of the situation, Natsu and Wendy split off to fight Aldrin in the various cities on his back. However, with the team split, Aldrin spawns his god seeds. These seeds are the 5 guardian deities that resided within Aldrin's orbs. The first seed to spawn was Wolfen, who has the ability to read minds. With Natsu seeing how the power works, he tricks the seed into transforming into his late brother Zeref. In doing so, Natsu is able to trick the seed into using Zeref's power. However, because the seed cares about Aldrin and wants to protect him, it triggers Zeref's curse of contradiction. Realizing the danger the seed has put Aldrin in, Wolfen disperses and the god seed Aldrin appears before Natsu. Meanwhile, Juvia and Gray fight together, defeating the power seed of Aldrin with a unison raid. Wendy and friends manage to defeat the death seed, Jalal takes out the gear seed. With all 4 seeds defeated, the only one who remained was the brain seed, Aldrin. As Lucy and friends defeat the remaining servants of the power seed, Brandish appears. As she is unable to use her Command T power on something with that much power, she decides to use it on someone else in order to gigantify them to fight Aldrin. And since he's the only Dragon Slayer present, Gajiel is the one who gigantifies to fight Aldrin. Back inside of the dragon's head, Natsu is still fighting the brain seed. After taunts, threats, and degrading words, Natsu snaps to his senses and remembers the person who he is today. With this realization comes a new spike in power. This new spike in power also triggers Natsu's natural dragon force. With this, he is able to defeat the Brain Seed with his Purgatory Fire technique. By defeating the last God Seed, Natsu also defeats Aldrin. With this, Fairy Tail has now defeated 2 of the 5 God Dragons for the 100 Years quest. Later on that night, the guild celebrates with a feast and banquet. And that is where we will leave off for now with the catch-up of Fairy Tail 100 Years quest. We will do a brief summary catch-up in the next monthly review for the manga. Again, if you are enjoying the content, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the content we put out on the channel. I'm Sly, signing us off. Have a great rest of your day.